Star Wars hits theaters with great success. The story of Luke Skywalker is traveling all throughout America. Following Luke are his droids, who are great companions who would never leave each other's sides.
What you see here isn't all there is behind the story of C-3PO and R2-D2. May 25th of 1977, Star Wars hit the big screen, shocking human beings everywhere. This was the day we met C-3PO and R2-D2, two droid companions who may bicker on occasion, but are inseparable friends. On screen, these droids were BFFs, but off-screen, vicious rivals. Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker have never gotten along, even on set in 1976 when the first Star Wars film was being filmed. Now, after 37 years of having to suffer through each other's company, nothing has changed. Years and years of hatred, one droid against the other, neither getting ahead by any far leaps. But whose fault is it that this on-screen relationship couldn't work out behind the scenes? Although neither are the kindest people, Anthony Daniels has it especially bad. Everyone thinks he's very rude, which doesn't help his case. Being rude not only to fellow cast and crew, but also to his fans, has put him in a very bad place. No one wants to meet with him or talk to him just because of his grumpy demeanor. Kenny Baker has even been quoted saying,
"Anthony doesn't mix at all. He keeps himself to himself. He never wants to have a drink with any of us. Once when I said hello to him, he just turned his back on me and said, 'Can't you see I'm having a conversation?' I was blazing with rage."
Although Kenny Baker and others' meetings with Anthony Daniels haven't gone smoothly, the majority of fans love the actor's humor and personality and have no trouble with him at all. So does this bounce the ball back into Kenny Baker's court? Is he the one who caused the robotic feud? Anthony Daniels hasn't spoken anything against Kenny Baker anywhere recorded, so his side of this battle is unknown. But we have stories from others that may help us decide the final outcome of who started this terrible verbal war. Many fans say Kenny Baker is an all-around good person and a very down-to-earth dude, but some say otherwise. Many felt Kenny Baker made too many invalid claims about others. Although Kenny Baker has been quoted saying that he doesn't
hate anybody,
it seems he may be picking a bone with C-3PO. Some of this may have been caused by the fact that even after countless hours of screen time together, the droids have never gotten much time to connect. Kenny Baker and Anthony Daniels never really saw each other in the dressing room, as they arrived at very different times, and while acting, they didn't even have to talk to each other. Anthony Daniels did all his voiceovers in post, while Ben Burtt created all of R2's beeps from scratch. Even at lunchtime when the actors ate together, Anthony Daniels was often forgotten, still stuck in his costume, while the cast and crew went off and ate without him. This didn't give him a lot of time to communicate or socialize with any of his co-stars. Kenny Baker may have picked Anthony Daniels out just because he was an outlier. It is a possibility. So is it Anthony Daniels' fault for being rude, or Kenny Baker's fault for being a bully? Let's look at the facts. Anthony Daniels has been reported being rude to many people, including fans, and Kenny Baker seems to have picked on Anthony Daniels solely because of his differences. Anthony Daniels seems to reference Baker's dwarfism, and Kenny Baker seems to reference Anthony Daniels' homosexuality. So are these two fighting based on being homophobic and nanostophobic? This statement is easily refutable. So whose fault is it that the droids have fought for so many decades? Neither are to blame. Sometimes you have to look behind the casting options. Sure, you can argue Star Wars may not have been the same without Anthony Daniels as C-3PO's voice, but when you think R2-D2, do you think Kenny Baker? Kenny Baker did contribute to the character by turning the head and wobbling a little bit, but couldn't you have gotten another person the right size to fit inside of R2 and still perform the task of turning the head and wobbling the body? What should have happened is getting the two actors together to see if they got along. So is it casting's fault? Not necessarily. Why would you need to make sure two actors who don't even come in contact with each other get along? So in all honesty, this feud is nobody's fault. If you don't get along with someone, then you just don't. Sometimes it's as simple as that. What drives us to this rivalry in particular is the fact that on screen there are some of the most famous characters known for their companionship, and hearing that they are lifelong enemies in real life shocks us. One part knows we shouldn't really care, but another tells us that this just isn't right. These two shouldn't be fighting. So whether you love or hate the droids on screen, behind the scenes, they are completely different people. So now you know what happens behind the suit and beyond the stars. This has been the tragic tale of R2 and 3PO's fallout.